What's the biggest thing that stood out from this weekend?
Biggest thing for me is Hunter Brown saved Easter. You hear about so-and-so saved Christmas. Well, Hunter Brown saved Easter. I mean, this was a disaster of a series. Looked like it was headed that way, and then Hunter Brown went out there and did his best Justin Verlander impersonation. I mean, they were talking about it. They were showing the video. They were showing the side-by-side of how those two guys throw and how Hunter Brown, grew up with JV and this and that, and he was masterful. And that is everything that you heard about from him being a top prospect and maybe even more. Just to bounce back from the performance that he had last time, that is a guy that watching that, if you're on the Astros schedule and you felt like that might be an easier turn in the rotation when Hunter Brown shows up after, it's his first year in the big leagues. He really wasn't supposed to be in the rotation, but Lance McCullers is hurt, so now he's officially in the rotation. And then, my goodness, what a performance by that guy. It was nasty. My favorite part was just batters being ready at like 8 seconds, 7 seconds on the pitch clock, and Brown's not even on the rubber. He just steps up. 2-3 seconds later, he's throwing a strike or striking guys out. He saved Easter. He did the thing that you hope that this rotation can do from time to time where, a couple games in a row have sucked. You've lost a few games. Somebody go out there and stop the other team from scoring so whatever we do on offense is enough, and that's what Hunter Brown did. He saved Easter.
I'll tell you what, if the Astros lose the first 2 games of a series, I'm going to bet the farm on the Astros to win on Sunday or getaway day.
Only when they're playing a team, though, from the American League Central.
Maybe it's that, but at this point, recent history tells us that they're not going to get swept. They're going to find a way to get it done on the final day of the series. Now, hopefully they stop losing the first 2 games of these series because you're not trying to lose any series, let alone to the Tigers and the Twins. But they found a way to get it done yesterday, and you're right. It was a masterful performance from Hunter Brown. Career high in innings, career high in strikeouts, gave up just 1 unearned run. His ERA was nearly 8 after his first start. It's now at 3.09. And his stuff was ridiculously good yesterday. That cut fastball. Chas McCormick, after the game, was interviewed by local media, and he said he could throw that every pitch, and he'd be able to get guys out. And it was that good yesterday. The fastball, cutter, slider combo that Hunter Brown possesses, when it's on, it's lethal. And it was on yesterday, and Minnesota had none stuff on the offensive end. So great performance by Hunter Brown. The Astros needed it, and they found a way to avoid what would have been a painful sweep.
Dusty Baker kind of panicked this weekend. That lineup that he put out there already taking Jeremy Pena out of the leadoff spot. I was surprised. This is a guy that's incredibly loyal to his players. Sometimes you question that loyalty with guys like Martin Maldonado getting playing time over maybe other guys in the past that have been more deserving, but I was surprised to see the shakeup up top with the lineup. Look, it paid off. Chas McCormick obviously went out there, had 4 RBIs. He's been really good. He has certainly earned more playing time. But seeing Dusty Baker change the lineup as drastically as he did this early in the year, that did surprise me.
It was necessary. We talked about it on Friday. Jeremy Pena couldn't be the leadoff hitter anymore. He wasn't getting it done. Not just from a not getting hit perspective, but he wasn't a issue for opposing pitchers on a regular basis. Guys went up there and took care of business with ease against Jeremy Pena. And look, even I felt silly saying that he can't lead off after 8 games of the experiment, but it was bad on Friday. And sure enough, the next thing you know, there's a new leadoff hitter the next day. And I don't know who got to Dusty. I don't know what got to Dusty. I don't know if Dusty was just mad and he wanted to try something else, and maybe he didn't believe in Chas McCormick, the leadoff hitter. He's like, screw it, I'll give Chas a chance just to show everybody we don't have any other options. Chas did okay as the leadoff hitter. He did fantastic yesterday with his opportunities. So, that's cool. I like that from Dusty. We haven't seen that from Dusty. We've seen too little too late sometimes from Dusty or way too late from some of these changes, but it worked out. And, oh, by the way, Jeremy Pena got 3 hits as soon as he got moved out of the top spot. Mm-hmm. So it worked out on all accounts. So I'm not going to be upset or worried, and I wouldn't have been critical if he changed something and it didn't work because you had to do something different than Jeremy Pena at the top.
We know Dusty hates Chas McCormick. Jake, do you think there's any chance that Dusty put Chas at the top hoping he would fail so he could stop hearing it from Astros fans that Chas McCormick is a good player?
Another good theory that I have not thought of till now that I think is the correct and only answer.
I like that. Thank you for your support. Yeah, Dusty Baker deserves some credit here. Now, look, you can still be mad at Dusty, and all of us were, that Chas McCormick opened the year on the bench. It was ridiculous that this guy was not an opening day starter. I think he's done enough to be damn near an everyday player. We know Dusty doesn't have everyday players, but y'all know what I mean when I say that. I like this lineup change. Look, Jeremy Pena should have never been the leadoff man. This is not revisionist history from me. The guy does not possess leadoff hitter traits. It doesn't mean he's a bad player. It obviously doesn't mean what he did in the playoffs last year wasn't spectacular, but he doesn't get on base enough, and he strikes out too much, and he doesn't see enough pitches to be your typical leadoff hitter. So the change should have been made, and obviously it worked. So give Dusty Baker some credit, because in the past, yeah, he would have been stubborn. It would have taken him a lot longer to make a move like this. But obviously Chas McCormick played really well in the 2 games since the move was made. And as you mentioned, Cody, Jeremy Pena, 3 for 8 with the home run and 3 RBIs after getting moved down in the lineup. Dusty hasn't gotten everything right, but early returns on that lineup change looking good.
One thing that's been apparent, not just this past series, but to start the year for the Astros, the bullpen has not been as good as it was last year. Now, is it too early to be concerned? I think it's still a little too early to be full-on concerned, but in baseball, year to year, your bullpen changes. Guys that had really good years, sometimes they don't have really good years, back-to-back seasons. That's just kind of the nature of being a reliever in MLB. That's what made the Astros so extraordinary last year, just how good everyone seemingly was coming out of that pen, especially come playoff time. Concern level with the bullpen, obviously, still very early on in the season, just 10 games in, but still, that's a conversation that needs to be had right now.
The tough part about the bullpen is you kind of alluded to it, Jake. Guys show up one year, and they're nothing like the guy they were the previous year. And then sometimes guys show up, and they're even better than they were the previous year. I'd be concerned if a lot of these guys didn't have some sort of good performance under their belt, but at least one performance from most of these guys is a positive, is a solid performance. I mean, Phil Maton's been incredible. It feels like he's damn near unhittable, it seems, at different times. Brian Abreu had a fantastic outing yesterday. Ryan Presley, I mean, it looked like he hurt his ankle, and then he was like, nah, I'm good. He finished off the Twins with ease there to wrap that thing up. But yeah, Ronel Blanco had a really, really bad inning, and then the offense showed up after Ronel Blanco had a bad inning, and you kind of felt like, wow, too little too late for the offense. But also, if Ronel Blanco hadn't had a bad inning, and maybe you could, like, there's been a hiccup here or there with these guys. That's still a really talented bullpen. I'm not super worried about it. Again, if a bunch of guys had no good performances through this point, I'd be worried. But almost everybody's got at least one performance that they could be pretty happy with to this point. So I'm not going to freak out just yet.
Yeah, I'm not worried yet, but the stats are not great. I mean, this bullpen was the best in baseball last year. They had an ERA of 2.80. Right now it's at 4.46. So more than a run and a half greater than what we had a season ago. I don't think they're going to end the year in the 4s. I'm not sure they're going to end the year in the 2s like they did a season ago. I don't think you're going to get a historic season out of Ryan Stanek in back-to-back years. Maybe reason to believe that Montero takes a little bit of a step back. It's not going to be perfect every time, but I'm not pressing the panic button with the bullpen. I can't disagree with you, Jake. It has been a weakness for this club through a couple of series, but I still think the track records of these guys, both this year and in years past, is enough for me to not completely be concerned with what's going on in the back end.